Hey guys, it's me, Greg, from the Kalamazoo Nature Center, bringing you another digital creature feature, this time with something a little bit different. As always, something a little bit creepy and crawly today. So let's jump right in and meet our animals, okay? These guys are not native. I'm going to start us right off by saying that. But I want to introduce you guys to our Madagascar hissing cockroaches. So right here, we have a male and a female. I'll see if I can't get them separated a little bit so we can tell them apart. Oh, and you can hear where they get their name. So on the left is our male, and you can just kind of barely see what we call his horns. He's got these little horns on the top of his head that the males have, and that's kind of how you identify them. And then the female, you can see she's more smooth on the top. Oop. All right, so let's see if I can set my camera up to get a nice view of these while I talk. All right. So this is our male, and like I said, you can see he's got those two little bumps at the top of his head above his antenna, and those are his little horns that they use to kind of fight for territory with each other. Our colony is very small. They don't really fight at all. That's something they would do more in the wild. So these guys are native to Africa, the island of Madagascar, and they are actually not very harmful. I bring these to a lot of my programs, and they're one of my favorite animals to take on a program because they kind of have this freaky appearance, but they are not really interested in doing anything bad to us. They are really good for me to show kids that just because something looks scary, it is not going to hurt you. They're pretty easy to handle, and I can show that at the end of the video when I'm a little bit more hands-free. So you'll notice that he's got these really cool little hooks on his legs. They can climb straight up glass. They actually have in their tank, they have this as well, but I've taken some Vaseline and rubbed it around the edge of the enclosure, and that just kind of stops them from being able to crawl up and out whenever they want, because like I said, they can just kind of go straight up glass. They can hang upside down. They're really good climbers. They're really good at escaping. So one thing I do tell people when I take them to programs is these guys actually make really good pets. They're super easy to take care of. They're not very much maintenance. You don't have to socialize them very often, and they are kind of cool to look at, and they're very unique. But the one thing you want to watch out for is them escaping, because the last thing you want is your colony of cockroaches living in your walls, right? So one thing you can kind of see on the male a little bit better than the female, because he's got a lighter color, is he's got these really cool dots running down the back of his body. And those are not just colored dots, those are actually holes, and those are called spiracles. That is how he breathes, and that is also how they make their little hiss. So let's see if I can't get him to make a little noise. So that is them hissing. He is forcing a little bit of air out of his body to try to ward a predator off. You know, if a bird hears that in the wild, or something that's trying to eat him, if they hear this sound, ooh, you don't want to do it if they hear that, they're going to think that there is a snake, they're going to think that there is something that's trying to get them, and they are going to leave that roach alone. It's just not worth that effort. So that is their main defense. The males, I think, hiss a lot more. They're a little bit more territorial. The females are a little bit more quiet. Let's see what she's up to over here. She's chilling. They're not very active during the day because they are nocturnal. They primarily come out to feed at night, and they just really only eat dead things. They eat rotten vegetables, fruits, carcasses, whatever they can get their hands on. I guess they don't really have hands, whatever they can get their little claws on. We feed them here. They just get dog food, and they get kind of scraps from other animals that haven't been eaten, because they are what's known as a decomposer. So they break down rotted matter and they return it back into the food cycle, which is a really handy thing to have in an environment. They're really important, at least in Madagascar. All right, so I'm actually going to see if they're going to behave enough to be handled. Oops. Like that. Because these guys, like I said, are one of my favorite animals to take to programs, because they kind of have a little bit of a funky or scary appearance, but then once they are in your hands and you're holding them, can you see? Oh, somebody asked how many we have. So we started off, and I think we had 9. I think we had 4 females and 5 males. But these guys reproduce about 60 at a time. And so we have a considerable amount more now. But it's really hard to keep track of them once they start breeding. At one point, I think somebody estimated we had like 600, but that was a while ago. That was when we had a huge whole tank of them. So yeah, they're very docile. They can't bite. They don't have big fancy mandibles like some other insects do. So they're really cool to just let kids kind of get comfortable with having an insect that they might not have ever gotten to hold one like this before. If you have the means, I highly recommend getting one as a pet or getting a couple because they're pretty cool. Oops, trying to keep her not on her back. Let's see if the male is as willing to participate and get a little bit better view of him. Oh, we can hear him. So you can get a little bit better view of those horns right there. Kind of like antlers on a buck, but they are little horns on a cockroach. And you can see his antenna. That's kind of how they smell and sense vibrations, things near them. Oop. You can get a good view of those spikes on his legs. Oh, and you can hear him hiss a little bit. All right. So you can see their first reaction once they get back into the enclosure is pretty much just to hide, get out of that light. They do not want to be eaten. Pretty much everything that I'm doing right now, picking them up, is telling them, you know, I'm an animal that is about to eat you. So they're kind of going into their defense mode. They're not really able to recognize that we're just socializing with them. So I've got a little bit more time, so I can take a couple more questions if anybody has them and they want to drop them in the comment section. Stephanie says that we're helping her face her fears right now. I'm glad that we're able to do that for you, Stephanie. I have to admit, these are not my favorite animals. I do not really like the creepy crawlies, but I think that these guys are a good ambassador animal for insects. Because like I said, they don't really bite. I mean, they can't bite us. They don't have the mouth parts to do that. And so I think these guys are a really good tool to, you know, show people that just because it looks scary does not mean that it is scary. All right, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope to see you guys next week for our next creature feature. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.